Okay, we're going to hear from our race-winning team, and that's Kyle Busch, Joe Gibbs Racing, and he drives the number 18 NOS Energy Drink Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's joined by his crew chief, Chris Gale, and he's joined by Steve D'Souza, who is Executive Vice President for the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Joe Gibbs Racing. This is Kyle Busch's 77th career NASCAR Xfinity Series victory, his first at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and for Joe Gibbs Racing, it's their 113th NASCAR Xfinity Series win and their first Xfinity Series win here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So really a milestone day for this outstanding race team. Kyle, I'm going to go to you first and just talk about this win. I know you're a driver that's highly driven and highly competitive, and this has to be a really good win for you here today.
It is. Anytime you're able to check another one off the list, it seems to be a good day for us. So, there's not many left to go, but certainly they're always something that we want to be able to achieve. So this was just one of those weekends where we unloaded, and Chris Gale and all the guys did a great job. All three of our Toyota Camrys were really fast, and, I knew it was going to be a race of trying to keep up with the racetrack and keep up with the adjustments for our car, and Chris did a great job of that, and we were just able to stay ahead of Larson. Larson obviously had really good long run speed. We definitely had a bit more on the short runs, so I was hoping for a little shorter run to the end, and 30, 35 laps, whatever that last one was probably just on the brink of enough, for us and how fast our car was in that period of time. So can't say enough about being back with NOS Energy Drink, being back in victory lane with them, our first start back together, and being back in the 18 also, and scoring that first Xfinity Series win for Joe Gibbs Racing here for Toyota. Not quite as big as that day in 2008 when we won our first of the Sprint Cup Series. He was there that day, yes. And so that was a pretty big day as well too. But this is a good one as well.
And Chris, congratulations on this win. It sounds like by the time you all got over here to Atlanta that you had a pretty good race car.
Yeah, we did. We worked really hard, in the off season, and I think it showed, right? Qualifying 1, 2, 3, we were top of the speed charts all weekend. Really happy with the mix of people we have at the shop and kind of how things are going there. We're doing a good job of kind of improving the car. It's always good to have speed when you unload.
Good talk. And Steve, certainly coming off a big week, win at Daytona in the Sprint Cup Series, and now a big win here to lead off the racing events here at Atlanta. Just talk about, as this race team continues to show a lot of early season momentum.
Well, obviously a great couple of weeks for Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole, and for our Xfinity side to come out this weekend. Really proud of the way Kyle obviously took the win, and Chris and everybody at the shop. The hard work that Chris alluded to that really the guys put into all off season was great. Great way to welcome NOS back into the family with us as well. We're proud to have them. Our first win here, Toyota's first win here in the Xfinity side. For Kyle too, it's great to have that all these boxes checked. So really pleased for everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Questions now for our winning team. If you have one, raise your hand. Let's go to Rick Menner right here in the middle of the audience. Rick Menner, raise your hand. Rick, go ahead.
Kyle, it seems like the Xfinity racing here is like you're kind of racing the slick racetrack, loose car. Are you surprised it took you this long to win here? And also, are you going to try to check the knowing off next week at Las Vegas in the Xfinity race?
Yeah, so I have been close here before. I've been second, I think, 5 times. I should have won here actually my rookie year, and my good old teammate Matt Kenseth beat me. It's just on a late restart, whatever, something happened. I'm not sure exactly what all went down, but I was pretty devastated that day. That was not too long after the Hendrick plane crash, so we had all of our friends on the hood, and so that was going to be a meaningful day, but didn't happen. But from there, we finished second 4 times. We led the most laps here. I don't know how many times. It just had issues that we just weren't able to capitalize on the day. So really happy that we could finally do that here today. I wasn't sure we were going to be able to there on that long run there at the end with Larson coming from behind me, but we had just enough to hold him off. So looking forward to next week. Certainly it's another one that can be checked off the list. I've not won yet in Las Vegas. Kind of seems odd being my hometown. I have won a Sprint Cup Series race there, but I do look forward to going out to Las Vegas every single year And being back in the blue and orange colors with NOS, hopefully we can check that one off the list as well too. And I know Chris is itching for that one as well with me, and we'll see what we can do.
Other questions? Let's go all the way over to the far right. Tim?
Thanks, Kerry. Tim is playing the Pit Stop Radio, Kyle. First off, congratulations. And secondly, I want to ask, Atlanta Motor Speedway, it hasn't seen a repave in a long time. It's got character bumps and everything, which undoubtedly you don't want to repave, do you?
No, not at all. This place has certainly grown into a tricky racetrack, that's for sure, and one that's hard to get a hold of. But, when you do have a good car, it does seem to make your day a little bit easier. My day today was a lot easier than it could have been for some of those guys that had some ill-handling cars farther back. But, I'm sure it's not too far out on the horizon where this place will need a repave eventually. It's hurtful to say those words because all of us drivers, we tend to really enjoy racetracks when they get like this. But Atlanta has been this way for a long, long time, but it has gotten to where it's almost deteriorated enough. But hopefully there's still another 2, 3, maybe 4 good years out of it before we got to see fresh asphalt down.
Let's go to Bob Pockers.
Bob Pockers, ESPN, 2 for Kyle. First, just on the start, I mean, were you thinking, oh, man, nothing good is happening for Joe Gibbs Racing this weekend? And then with the difference in the tires in the cars, do you even take anything from today that can help you coming from the back tomorrow?
Yeah, on the start, that was just my bad. You're supposed to wait for the flagman to throw the green, and I did. And when I did, I got hit from Suarez behind me, which spun my tires, and then I just could never get them hooked back up in time. And I could tell Jones was trying to check up, and I was trying to get ahead of him, so we didn't have that problem. But he did all he could and did a good job of trying to rectify the situation. But I hurt him more than he did anything wrong, so that was my bad. But as far as learning anything today for tomorrow, you definitely learn how to track the line or how to run the middle or how to run the top, how to work around traffic a little bit. Those things are certainly pretty fun to figure out. The tires are entirely different. The cars are entirely different. So as far as knowing what to do from today and this setup that we had in our Xfinity car to tomorrow, that's irrelevant. But we'll give it our best shot and see how we can do tomorrow. I wouldn't say we're one of the top 5 cars, but maybe we're a top 15 car, and we can get a little bit better than that as the day goes.
Other questions? Raise your hand. All the way back in the we got Kenny Bruce right here. I'm sorry, Kenny Bruce, and all the way back in the back.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Kyle, how much difference does driver experience make here at Atlanta? Somebody like Eric that ran well, if he'd been here, for several years, how much difference would something like that make?
I think it would mean a lot. It also just depends on how much work you put into it and watching film and stuff like that and trying to study up a little bit about what this place has done over the last few years. Eric's a quick study. He's a really good driver and learns quick, learns on the fly, asks a lot of good questions, and so that's why he's to the level that he is so far, and he's got nothing but the horizon left in front of him. So as far as whether he'd be better if he had more years, sure. I think Larson obviously showed that too. He's had some years of experience, and he was right there competing with us today. He had a good car, and it was cool to see. I'd probably got to go back and rewatch it a little bit, see how hung out he was there at the end. And it's always entertaining to watch Larson. People always talk about that about me, but I try to keep my stuff as straight as I can. But it was neat to see a couple different lanes kind of working today. I was bottom feeding. I liked it down there, and Larson seemed to run up top, so it was pretty cool.
Paul Newberry, right here. I'm sorry, let's get the gentleman over there, and then we'll go to Paul Newberry.
Jacob Seelman, 3 Wide Life and Race Chaser Online. One for Kyle and one for Chris. Kyle, tomorrow's a whole new ball game. You've got to come from the back after having the track position today and being all the way at the front. How is that going to change what you do tomorrow after having basically clean space all day today?
Yeah, it's going to change a lot of things. Certainly just trying to maintain the tire wear and everything like that, and making sure that you're not pushing too hard and doing things to punish the tires. You don't need to make up too much ground too quick. It's a long race, so you just got to keep trucking at it and keep methodically working your way through different guys and around the racetrack in order to make your moves. And sometimes you might level out. You might get to maybe 30th and just kind of fall and just sit right there for a while. You might make your way up to 20th and kind of level out. Who knows? So we'll just have to play the race as it goes and see what happens.
And Chris, your driver led basically 2/3 of this race untouched. How easy does that make your job as a crew chief when he's able to basically set sail and not have to do a whole lot to it?
I don't know that it makes it easy. We were probably a 10-lap longer run at the end away from losing the race. So that part of it, it's one thing, right? I got Kyle Busch. He's the greatest driver in the Xfinity Series. The flip side of that is you get content and complacent. You expect to win, and then he's so good that you don't keep working on your stuff. What I try to focus on is no matter if I have Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, whoever in the car, my job is to keep improving the car, make sure I don't get behind later in the race and our adjustments are behind. So I think you just maintain focus on what you're trying to do and realize that nothing's a given.
Go ahead, Paul Newberry.
I'm just curious, Kyle, one more thing with what happened, the disappointment of last night. Does this today, winning the pole and winning the race, take any of the sting off that a little bit?
No. This is Xfinity and that's Cup, So it is what it is. It's not that big a deal. I mean, when you get out on the racetrack, things move, parts and pieces expand, they get hot and whatever, and you miss on a laser beam by 15,000th of an inch. It is what it is, So we move on, and we'll start in the back tomorrow and try to make sure that issue doesn't happen to us again. Maybe we can go sit on the pole the following week at Las Vegas, which would mean even more to me than sitting on the pole here in Atlanta. No offense. Just would love to be up front of my home track and try to go score a win there, but still got to try to race tomorrow and get a win tomorrow.
Chris. Catchfence.com. Congratulations on the victory.
Thanks.
First, the truck race is coming up. You have 2 rookies in that race. How will the track adapt for them? And second, you're reunited with NOS Energy Drink. 1 race in, 1 victory. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the Truck Series race. I'm looking forward to watching our guys go at it and see how well they can do. This is a real tough racetrack for them. This is going to be the start of their season, essentially, on what's going to be in store for them this year. Obviously, Matt Crafton's really good around here. He's a veteran. He should have the upper hand on the rest of the guys, but hopefully our guys have good trucks and they can do a good job of being able to have a strong finish. A couple of them didn't qualify as good as I wanted to, so I got to figure out what happened there. But to the second part of the question about being back with NOS Energy Drink, it's awesome. I think it just means a lot to rekindle the relationship a little bit, and of course to go out there and to win our first start out is really special. For me to never have won at Atlanta. Atlanta is where they started, where they were from, essentially being with Coke years ago, and it's pretty neat to just be able to score the victory, and of course look forward to the future races that we have together as well too. I think it's 16 events, so would certainly love to win more than just one and be able to go out there and put that awesome looking NOS Energy Drink Camry in victory lane a few more times.
Far right, let's go to Stan.
I will every time.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Chris, crew chief, how the average fan would look at that and say, man, you guys must have been absolutely near perfect. How close were you to near perfect today?
Well, I think Kyle needs to answer that. I honestly think, though, like I said, if we had 10 laps longer, we might not have won that race. So I think it's a matter of you might be perfect the first run, and you might get a little bit off the second run, and then you get complacent and don't adjust on it, and pretty soon you lose the race, and then it takes what could be a perfect day into a disappointment, right? So it's just about you have to stay focused on the number of laps left, what's getting ready to happen, what his balance comments were over the laps in the run, and make sure you stay on top of it. It can quickly turn on you.
At Atlanta, you're always way far off from perfect. Yeah, no. I mean, for as good of a race car as we had and for as many laps as we led and winning the race, there's a lot of tense moments that happen for sure, each and every lap or sometimes, every 5 laps, 10 laps, whatever it may be. But this place is hard. It's hard on drivers, equipment, tires, everything. So you just got to keep your emotions in check and work on your car, like Gail said, in order to make sure that you're better and better each time that you come down pit road in order to get yourself farther up front if you're not there already and stay up front if you are there.
Jared, do you have a question? Let's get Jared the mic, please.
To right.
Yeah, Jared Turner, FoxSports.com. Just about yesterday again, how shocked were you, Kyle, to learn that you'd been DQ'd?
It's always a shock, I guess. You know, you don't necessarily think that after qualifying. I don't know that there's been a lot of times that guys have been thrown out, but actually, I guess there was a couple of them last week at Daytona. So we're not the first, and we're certainly not going to be the last. So kind of is what it is. It's unfortunate, but you know, days move on, and being thrown out after qualifying is a lot easier to take than being thrown out after the race or having your crew chief get a penalty or have to sit out a suspension or something like that. So actually pretty excited that none of that happened, and I get to keep at them, and we're all good. So we'll be fine and work on what we need to do for tomorrow.
Any other questions, either downstairs or upstairs? All right. Congratulations to Kyle Busch, Joe Gibbs Racing, and continued best of luck.